Welcome to Little Bighorn treasure hunting. I want to show you a treasure map with the clues being symbols of words telling us Native Americans' names and their life and the battles they fought in. Dating back earlier than the 1100s AD, the written language validates the family stories told over and over through generations. At their powwows and campfires, the Native Americans had writing on most of their possessions, including weapons. Togia, spelled T-O-G-I-A, is the name of the language and was not known by all tribal members. Only holy men, called Wakon, which means holy, and chiefs, and of course others, knew the language. Some words have more than one symbol for the same word, depending on the different tribe. Crossovers of language came from marriage and captives, helping understanding from one tribe to another. Those who did not know the language would have someone put their names on their possessions. And it was then a tribute was given of some sort for writing the American natives' names on their items. The Native Americans felt everything they owned was a gift from God, so they called Wakantanka, and was important for their names to be placed on their items. So when Wakantanka knew who was thinking of him. My intention is to show some of this written historic American language and to share some of the history carefully documented by others who have lived with the Sioux and Cheyennes and have written books and papers of what they have learned. From the 1800s until present day history, this will cover. I have nothing to sell, just watch with an open mind what I show you. Be skeptical and question, because this is how truth is found. This language must be preserved for American history and hopefully will help bring interest and healing to our Native American people. The language began its quest to live for the future with a boy warrior of 13 years old, Nicholas Black Elk. June 25th and 26th, 1876, he rode through the Little Bighorn battlefield. He had many first-hand encounters with Custers men, including killing and scalping. Many interviews and books were written about him. Nicholas learned the Togia from his father, Black Elk Sr., who was Wakon, a holy man. Nicholas also became Wakon and was a prominent holy man at the stronghold in 1890 during the Ghost Dance and the massacre at Wounded Knee. As his father taught, so he taught Togia to his son, Benjamin. Benjamin Black Elk lived among his people, the Oglala Sioux. He married Angelino, also called Ellen, and had one girl, Catherine Black Elk. Ben also became Wakon and loved the people and kept the traditions and the culture of the Sioux deep in his heart. Trying to find another Sioux that wanted to learn the language, it was difficult, and he seemed to hit dead ends. Ben's only daughter died in 1968. There are grandchildren, but what knowledge they have is unknown. Benjamin's goal to keep the Togia alive seemed to be fading away. A chance meeting occurred in 1967 near Hot Springs, South Dakota. Wendell Grangard, a general engineering contractor and bridge builder second to none, was moving material from one job site to another. Following his North American crew members after unloading and returning for another load, his men pulled over to help an old man. The Sioux gentleman, dressed in 1800s Indian-style clothes, had a flat tire. Wendell's crew members insisted that they help this man. Wendell sent his crew off to make another load while he stayed and helped the old man, Benjamin Black Elk. This started a friendship that grew stronger and stronger. In 1969, Wendell was at Ben and Ellen's home. when Ben showed a pointed stone war club and asked, "Guess who this belonged to?" Wendell responded and said, "I'm not a guesser." Then Ben said it belonged to Crazy Horse, and that then he showed him the symbols in Togia for Crazy Horse. That was the first time Wendell saw the language on that war club. Over many years that Wendell Grandgard built dams and bridges and highways, he was required to hire all Native Americans on his crew because he was working on the Indian reservations, many of which were descendants of those who fought at the Little Bighorn. After getting to know each other, they would share their family stories and history. While building a bridge on the Cheyenne River Reservation, he met David Bald Eagle. His wife Josie, who Wendell said made the best apple pie. David was White Bull's grandson and lived with him after his parents died. White Bull was Sitting Bull's nephew, and alongside Crazy Horse were the most acclaimed warriors at the Little Bighorn battle. A very good source of stories about Little Bighorn also came from Orwell Slayway from Keystone area. Wendell told me he needed to hear the same story from 5 different sources before he documented the story in his records. The Native American Indian culture was to tell the stories of family honor and bravery over and over to keep the history alive from generation to generation. The written Togia language was also handed down from generation to generation. Few had interest after 1900 and through the 1930s and 40s, the reservation years. In 1979, Benjamin Black Elk was diagnosed with cancer and made a decision to pass the Togia language on to the only person he knew that had the capability and learning the language, Wendell Grandgard. This was not an easy decision for Benjamin to pass on to a white man the sacred language that Wakantanka had given the nations. But Ben had studied Wendell for years since they first met and felt he had the 4 cardinal virtues so important to an Indian leader: bravery, fortitude, generosity, and wisdom. So he taught Wendell the language from 1972 until his death, February 22nd, 1973. I'm going to show different artifacts with the same symbols on them over the last 145 years and longer. All these are artifacts that will have a written history which cannot be shared in one time. So look for future videos which will be explained, which I will explain. More language, artifact types, sources, where to look for items, and do's and don'ts. And also Custers men's weapons. I'm going to show you here some items, and as you can see, there's writing on them here, and here's the books. This is an old book that came with this piece when I bought it, but here's a newer one that I have acquired and sent pictures to Wendell, and you can see the writing here and on the pictures, and here is the meaning of those. As you can see, the word A for 3 bulls is there. You see that same A there? That's also for bull. If you look, you'll see 3 dots right in here also. 5 dots. When you see the 5 dots, that's the word bear. But right now we're looking at bull, and buffalo also will carry the same symbol. You see it there, bull and buffalo. This was Buffalo Bull's piece. He was a hunk papa, and we'll go through all these. I'll show you the different tribes and what their symbols are, but I won't be able to do it all at once. But here, these are books that also have helped me right here. This is a super great book, and this has just been a wealth of information. But these here all have to do with Sitting Bull, and we'll get to that story all in itself. We can spend some time. But then let's go to the Blackfoot mark, which is a very easy one to see. It's X's. You see the X's there? Can you see the X's on this elkhorn scraper? The X's are very hard to see here. Wendell has them drawn out here. This belonged to Crawler, who was a great war chief of the Blackfoot Sioux. Here's another piece, this here, on his Sharp's carbine. And as you can see, the X is here, again, for Blackfoot. We also have, I don't know where the book went, because I read the story out of it, but we have Blackfoot here again. You can see it here on the bottom of the grip, very plainly, very plain here. Here we have Crawler, the same chief. It's so cool to find one more piece with the same Indian, and I'll show you several of those as we go. This is Colt single action, 19,000 serial range. Now here's a war club, pretty vicious looking club, all wrapped with sinew. I'll try and describe all these things to look for you. See, here's the A for bull again, and you see the X's. Anyway, I'll tell you some stories and show you more words in a future publication. I want to thank God and my nephew Chris and my son Cody, and of course Wendell Grandgard for sharing the time with me. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.